Here at Kraken One Open, we like to just, put our money where our mouth is. So, that cone right there, Kraken One Open, baby. Nailed it.
Hello, we're Kraken One Open. If you've joined us before, you already know that we're the Seattle Kraken podcast that's here to talk NHL hockey and crack a couple cold ones open and, just enjoy ourselves. I'm your host, Nick Cody. With me, as always, as you're listening to the sweet sounds of his band, Where's Jameson, is Jameson Edwards. How's it going, Jameson? How are you doing tonight?
I'm feeling good, man. You look like you're feeling something. What's this whole thing going on?
You don't like my new Seattle Kraken anchor
Oh
t-shirt?
no, I'm not talking about the shirt.
Oh,
man. What's on your head?
Oh man, I left this one. My bad. I was at mascot tryouts for the Kraken and just must have left the get up on. My bad. Okay, sorry about that. My bad. These things happen, but if you've been with us before or this is your first episode, we thank you for joining us. We're Kraken One Open. Hope you're following us on Twitter, subscribed on YouTube, and if you're on Instagram, at Kraken One Open with a number 1. So we've been trying to add a lot of content recently. I think you saw that to begin the show. Jameson, where are these fantastic hockey skills coming from, my man? Why you need to show these off every week?
Yeah. I mean, I just brought my phone out on the ice, had a clean sheet, and just figured to goof around. There's a few more in the pocket, and looking to do maybe 1 or 2 every week. Just have fun with it.
Here we are 7 episodes deep, and we're just now realizing that's the kind of content we should be bringing in. But for fans that have been here for our past 6 episodes, this is how we start off our face-off. We give you a little idea about what we're drinking tonight, and we hope you drink along with us safely, whether it's water, juice, or if you're like me, trying to go on a diet. Right now, we're going with a little bit of seltzer, hard seltzer, that is, and I've been drinking some of the Michelob Ultras as recommended over the past couple weeks, but I've also seen the Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzers. Low calorie, just 80 calories, no carbs. Gonna go for that, and then a little bit of Seattle's favorite, Rainier. I know you were asking me about the pronunciation on this, but this is a Seattle classic right here. It's like the Bud Light of Seattle beers, I would say. So if you're looking for a comparison, at least in my opinion, everyone's allowed to have their own. But right now I've already got a little bit of a seltzer poured out in here, and wait till you tell all the fans at home what you're drinking tonight in our penalty box before I crack this one open.
Yeah, so tonight I'm just going back to the classic whiskey diet. I had the Kraken rum last week. Really enjoyed that. It's just not as easy to find as I would prefer it to be. So just sticking with the classic whiskey diet.
And you took care of that bottle pretty quickly. I mean, that's good stuff. I remember from just 7 episodes ago, my opinion on Kraken rum has changed dramatically.
Yeah, you weren't a huge fan to begin with, but then I remember you took a little bit of a little bit being the probably most ridiculous understatement I could possibly put into words there. But yeah, you were having some fun. I had some fun. We all had some fun. So
gotta be careful with that Kraken though. It is. I think that was some repressed memories there, just trying to go, hey, take it easy, pump the brakes. But hey, whatever. Cheers, mate. Good face off, and let's get into our penalty box.
Yes, sir. Na zdrowie.
Release the Kraken!
Ooh, I'll add a little more to the seltzer I already had going, so we can proceed to our penalty box. And everyone knows by now that the penalty box is where you go ahead and you pay up for what you did on the ice. And well, last week's episode, we've got plenty to talk about. I thought we were loose, flown pretty free, but I was definitely wasted when you caught me with the koozie, and my reaction was to pound an entire beer. But going in and reviewing all of that, it was a beer I had not introduced in our face off. If you go back and review the tapes, I'd put away a Space Dust right there, which is why when I got to our our final third period there, and then our sudden death face off, man, it was very brutal for me. I was stumbling on some words, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started early with my penalty box minutes on that, mate. What do you got?
The main one from last week, I don't know if it was a huge mistake or rather just not a clear communication of what I meant. Um, Mentioned that that young goalie facing some of the NHL guys out in camps, and I said Seattle's own Brendan Dillon, which he plays in Winnipeg now, coming from the Capitals up to Winnipeg. What I didn't explain was that he played his first 4 years of the WHL for the Thunderbirds, and now he's 6'4". When he started there, he was 5'2" and went undrafted. So during his juniors, the 4 years in juniors, he shot up over a foot, and now he's one of the bigger guys on the ice, regardless of what team he's playing. So yeah, I'll own up to that. I wasn't clear. So
Cheers, mate. And also, you're getting some penalty time for anyone that saw a couple of your videos today. The cone violence you orchestrated today was just unparalleled. I have not seen violence against a cone on the ice ever. So that was the most violent act I've ever seen against a cone. So high sticking going into our first period. You are getting extra penalty time, my friend. But hey, good period. Let's get it going.
Release
Cheers.
the Kraken!
Our first period is where we try to deep dive on the Kraken. A lot of different little topics this week, nothing really big in terms of, main things we're going to deep dive. But let's just talk about the Kraken first and foremost. The jerseys that we talked about, you might be available to get if you were already an early season ticket holder or in the depths program, which we still haven't figured out. We were going to sign up for it now. But you may already be getting your jerseys, and you'll notice that the jerseys this season are going to get an inaugural patch on the game jerseys, and some of them look pretty awesome. I've seen a couple custom ones that are really, oh man, I'm really envious. But hey, again, you look at that price tag at the end of the day at $200, not necessarily unreasonable for a high-end authentic replica, but oh man, you'd think with the depths program you'd get a little bit bigger of a discount. But what are your thoughts so far on the jersey releases, Jameson, what you've seen, and the patches?
I mean, I maintain what I originally said. Just my first impression has stuck with me. I think they're one of the coolest sets of jerseys in the show right now. I mean, the inaugural patch, I like how it has Mount Rainier. Is that right?
Rainier, sir. You could,
okay.
Good enough. You didn't say Rainer. We get a lot of Rainer. They don't catch that second eye.
That is what I tossed in when I was asking pre-show. But yeah, I like that.
The cursive font doesn't help anybody with that, man. That you see that second eye just kind of flows right in there.
Right. Yeah. Kind of just wiggles its way in like a cramped bookshelf or something.
Bingo.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. Still waiting to see what their sponsored patch is going to be.
Well, next season. That's the
right.
thing. Again, we'll see. It could replace that inaugural patch or wherever it is. It's the thing.
Right. And I mean, I still really like having the needle on the arm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the whole template is, to me, just an upgrade from the general design of jerseys across the league.
Yeah.
In fairness, there are certain things you just don't touch, like say Montreal's logo or Chicago's logo. I mean, well, they have talked about having to rename the team with all the political correctness going around, and that would be abysmal. But
Yeah.
not outside the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, as a
Um,
Winterhawks fan, and now that they are currently changing the logo there, I mean, that's something that I've already kind of come to considerations with, is probably down the pipeline or sometime. But I don't know. The Blackhawks is going to be one that's probably going to be the last of, if any. It's going to be that in the Florida State Seminoles that will probably maintain the longest.
yeah, I mean, it's just such a classic story in Chicago. I'm sure it's probably not exclusive to Chicago, but when you're walking across the dressing room, you don't step on the head. Like you get hazed off your mind if you step on the logo.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it is something that's held very sacred. And bringing it back to Seattle, I think that's going to be something that's really pushes other teams to consider, oh, can we make our logo better? I mean, especially someone like Arizona, which we talked about last week. I have a little bit on them coming up, but yeah, sort of newer teams that don't have the coolest of logos could use a little bit of finagling, if you will.
Yeah.
Could definitely see that setting the bar very high as far as Seattle's design is concerned.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at how many jerseys it's already selling and how people are already interested and will pay premium prices to get it. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. I believe it's September 15th, September 14th, around there. I'll drink to it next episode if I'm wrong, but I think that's when you'll be able to get the jerseys publicly. But those are going to sell out quick if you're looking at how everything else is played out. It doesn't seem like those are going to be really available. So I've seen a lot of people that have just opted for knockoffs, and while I don't recommend that, I'm just saying if it's in your price range, you think it looks good. I don't think it matters in terms of supporting the team. I don't think they're hurting for money in any case for official branded licensed gear. So the biggest thing is going to be, I think, again, we reviewed the depth program in our last episode. It's really about, where are these prices for the individuals here in Seattle? And unfortunately, the huge hockey fans that I know are all priced out at this point and talking already about, hey, just going to stick with my season tickets with the Silver Tips or the Thunderbirds. And hey, that's probably reasonable for the average hockey fan. And I think a lot of people that jumped on those early season tickets are resellers, unfortunately. And they're probably going to make a great profit because you see the secondary market is just crazy right now. But I like the patches. I like how it honors the team, gets the inaugural season going, and it'll be memorable, but still holding off on. I'm just not sure enough with this team what I would want a jersey for, unless it were just selfishly to promote the show, which we could still do.
Yeah. And I mean, we did talk about at one point a few episodes back what kind of jersey you would want.
Yeah.
And
I'm still with the number 69. Nice. But
nice.
Nah, it didn't catch on like I thought it would.
But well, I mean, you can just always go with the Doug Glatt thing. Pick 69, it's hilarious. But
it is very funny.
I'm not opposed to it. Speaking of ticket prices, though, you mentioned a little before the show, because preseason is coming up, starting officially on the 25th. For the Kraken, it'll be in Spokane versus Vancouver on the 26th.
Yep.
Then they go to Everett versus Edmonton on the 1st of October, and Kent versus Calgary on the 2nd of October, with the first game at the inaugural opening game at Climate Pledge Arena is the 23rd of October. So there is a little bit of wiggle room in there before you guys will actually get to see the team physically in Seattle.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about your experience with the Spokane event.
Well, even preseason tickets at this point are out of the range of what I would be considering, because all the plans we have this fall, again, we have a Facebook event already for the 24th for our live episode, which will be recapping that game, that first home ice there on the 23rd. But go ahead and RSVP on Facebook in our new Facebook group if you haven't already. But the thing is I wanted to go to the game here at Everett Arena, and I was just thinking, man, it would be great to go see where I've seen many Silvertips games and get to see a preseason game there. Saw someone posting on a Facebook group that was saying they couldn't go and giving up their tickets, and didn't list a price. So that's when I knew to first be concerned. And then after that, the thing is I got a message probably like 8-10 hours later that was yeah, have 4 tickets available. I will sell you 2 of them, which I was requesting for 500, but I'm looking to sell all 4 for 800. And for a preseason game, no, I couldn't do it. And so yeah, I hope he found a decent buyer. But again, for a preseason game, it maybe if that was going to be a regular season game before the home ice opened and they had to play it there, definitely I would consider it. But to me, that's unreasonable. As a peripheral hockey fan, a bigger hockey fan should be there anyways. It's not like you know, I should be taking those seats, but what I should do is get a press pass.
That would be really cool. I mean, to sort of justify a little bit further for anyone who's listening that isn't familiar with preseason hockey,
Yeah.
a lot of the times you're not even seeing a lot of the big stars from the different teams even lacing up, you know, their healthy scratches, you know, they don't want to get hurt in a dumb preseason game. You know, they're starting their 3rd string or 4th string goalies. So you might not even see, say, Yaroslav Halak for Vancouver, which is weird to me, but that's totally different reasoning. Way too much of a rabbit hole to go into now. But for sake of example, I forget the name of the kid that Tom Wilson from the Capitals, who's another rabbit hole, but he injured a kid. Was it three seasons ago? I want to say 3 or 4 seasons ago in a preseason game, and they suspended him. I want to say like 20 games, which was one of the longest set game suspensions in the history of the show.
Jeez.
And I mean, Wilson's a big dude. He throws some questionable hits, so the league really has been stomping down on him. But again, you might not even see, you know, guys like Dunn lacing up or
yeah. Yeah, and that's just why I wouldn't put the money down right away. Otherwise, I'd love to get the experience of just, I mean, a hockey game's a hockey game. People that get to that level, they play it, you know, they get on the ice and it doesn't matter, you know, especially those guys that are trying to make a living and not get cut. I mean, they're playing tooth and nail to you know, show their skills and try and make it to the NHL. So totally fair, and man, very, very frustrating, but hey, it's what we're gonna expect to see with the Kraken, unless they have just have a horrendous season and ticket prices go down. Everything is going to continue to with the current, marketing and everything that's gone so far. This season's going to be tough to get tickets unless you know somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it is a hyperinflated market where eventually it has to stabilize.
Sure.
But
Sure.
How long that takes is something outside my realm of being able to project or understand at this point. Kind of cruising through the whole new arena because we did talk about Climate Pledge. The only other brand new arena is going to be out in Long Island for the Islanders, the New York Islanders. So that's kind of a little fun thing. They're playing out there just northeast of JFK International. And well, again, the Coyotes, there isn't too much going into this. There are a few other Kraken things. So just to briefly skim this, because we talked about this last week or the week before, whatever it was. The Coyotes did submit a bid to build an arena in Tempe officially. As per the nature of the legal agreement, they weren't able to really give any details. Really, all they said was that they put a bid in for like a 46-acre plot, and it's pending review by the city of Tempe. So that's a little bit just a follow up on that as far as arenas are concerned. Oh, and the Kraken are opening their community iceplex on the 10th. So that's maybe not an arena, but that is where they'll be practicing, and where you guys will be able to go and skate, maybe meet some of the players, kind of again get involved. And I know that's been a big talking point for us, is just getting everybody out there, learn to skate, just be in the atmosphere.
Yeah, and I'm looking for some size 15s right now, because I might be out there next weekend. I'm considering maybe September 10th or 11th. I get out there, try to meet some folks, but we'll have more updates on that next week. And hopefully we have a lot of fans out there that are already ready to go. I know if you were in the depth program, you get to go that extra day early, which is awesome. So if we still sign up for that, that would be something awesome. But hey, you know what? The more people that just get involved and get excited, even on that level, it just makes it, I mean, already the community is so excited. It just helps build a new foundation in a lower level. So, 10 years from now, that, regardless of the success of the franchise, hockey is still strong in Seattle.
And they're already doing so much just for the game, beyond even Seattle, because they were a big driving force in raising $3 million to get the hockey program at the University of Alaska in Anchorage reinstated.
Yeah.
So it just, again, sets the bar very, very high for an organization. And I'm really hoping that a lot of these other teams and organizations follow suit, because it's just really great what they're doing up there, honestly.
Amen, man. Anything else to add to our first period?
I mean, the signing of Riley Shan.
Yeah,
that's a quick little one. I mean, he's another one of these relatively cheap contracts. You got $850,000, 1 year, one way. I know I explained it a little bit briefly last week, but the nature of the one way contract is that they're not able to send him down to the Charlotte Checkers unless he passes waivers in which any team can claim him. That won't be an issue here because it's a one-way contract. That being said, he's another one of these guys that's been kind of like a bottom six forward, does a lot of penalty killing. What he does have going for him is he's played 566 games in NHL. I want to say he's 29. 29 sounds right, because he has been in the NHL since 11 and 12. He graduated from Notre Dame, played there for a few years, was drafted by Detroit, played there, kind of bounced back and forth between there and Grand Rapids, which is their AHL affiliate. Played in Pittsburgh, Florida, Edmonton, last year in Buffalo. When it was originally announced, I saw a lot of the Buffalo fans coming in and saying, one, he'll be fine if he doesn't get hurt, but that's a big concern. And two, he's hopefully going to put up better production than he did in Buffalo last year.
Well, I mean, it is Buffalo.
That is the real sort of question mark there, because Buffalo is such a train wreck. But
a question mark.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to end our first period, transition into our second period. Good period, mate.
Release the Kraken!
Now we've got a lot to talk about in the second period here around the NHL. Man, where do you want to start? Because I know I've got plenty of topics I can pull up whenever you're ready.
Well, where I want to start, not necessarily an NHL related topic, but an important hockey related topic. Just this past Tuesday, the women's international championship, world championship, took place between Canada and the United States. Canada ended up winning in overtime 3-2. So cheers, Canada. That is coming off the 2018 win in Pyeongchang, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Where the United States took that.
So. As we mentioned on previous episodes, I was very fortunate to know from the staff in 2016 to that point. I didn't even know until I saw him on the sidelines in one of those games. Coach Radcliffe, Jimmy Radcliffe, there from University of Oregon, the guy that helped keep me in good shape and absolutely trained me to be a faster athlete, not just forwards and backwards running a 40, but laterally. I think that's the biggest thing that made me think, oh yeah, be a great hockey coach, because we did so many things to build our lateral movement, especially as an offensive lineman. If you're trying to pull around the edge and you need to have the perfect base when you make contact to knock someone on their ass, same thing you need in hockey when you're trying to get, a good push off your skates. So we would be doing slide boards with, little booties on our shoes we were just sliding, and that's the thing that makes me think, oh man, if I got out there, got on skates, I might be a little too overconfident at first. Got to really just hone it in. Remember, it's a little bit different.
Absolutely. And I mean, it is a good point how he transitioned that way. That's really interesting. But yeah, I mean, not a terrible amount to talk about in that, other than, congratulations, Canada.
Yeah. And US. I mean,
and second place ain't bad.
Yeah, exactly. Worlds. I mean, dude, you compare, and women's athletics doesn't usually get the recognition it deserves, and it's good to see North America leading the way on that. So
cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
There has been a lot of kind of feel good stories around the league. The most recent one, two-time Cup winner the past 2 years with Tampa, who's up in New York now, I believe. Barclay Goodrow proposed in Toronto. She said yes, so that's really cool. Originally, when I saw the picture, whatever that big building in Toronto is called, I didn't look this up. I should have. But I thought it was the Needle, and I was gonna send you the picture saying, "Oh, you're like crazy. I wonder if he grew up in the Pacific Northwest or whatever." But then I looked at it. It was like, no, he was born and raised in Toronto. And I looked at the picture and just said, "Oh, right. Yeah, I'm not the brightest tool in the shed."
Don't sell yourself short, mate. We all love you.
I wanted to get the good news out of the way before we get to the, well, not so, I mean, it's good news, but it's about
controversial,
very bad thing. So one of the big things coming out of the draft was a kid, a French Canadian kid named Logan Malieu. He was out in Sweden playing. He was basically the Swedish equivalent of convicted and fined for sharing non-consensual photos with sexual nature, and without the consent of the woman. So there was a big thing where he said, "Please don't sign me. Like, don't draft me. Don't, please. I need to work on myself." And Montreal picked him in the first round, 31st overall.
Jeez.
Which is, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a hockey fan that would support that decision. He's a good hockey player, but he's got a lot of growing up and just general maturing to do, especially when he comes out and says, "Don't sign me," and then or "Don't draft me," rather. I keep saying sign, but draft, two very different things. That being said, the news, because he wasn't going to play in Montreal this year, he was going to play for the London Knights in the OHL. The news was that the OHL as a league said that he wasn't living up to expectations of OHL player conduct appropriately, basically. So they suspended him. He does have the ability to be reinstated as of January 1st, but I found it interesting that it was not just his team, it was the league.
Yeah.
He did put out a big apology saying, this has affected her and me and blah, blah, blah. And good first step, I would say, but I don't think that has any place in any professional environment, let alone a highly competitive male dominated sport.
Yeah.
That's I mean, coming fresh off the topic of um, women's athletics not getting enough credit and then leaning into this whole topic, I think is just such a, I want to say dichotomy, but it's almost parallel, you know. So
You even compare it to, as we were saying, with potentially the Blackhawks changing the logo. It's really trying to accommodate what is best and most appropriate for everyone, and where we can all manage tolerance, and where we really should move the boundaries of where are the discussions we should have about what is appropriate and what isn't. And having those conversations in a reasonable setting is very difficult, especially these days. But now it seems like, especially in hockey, man, if a guy is saying I need to work on myself, don't draft me, man, it's that at least for my familiarity in other pro sports leagues would be the biggest red flag. But the NHL, man, talent really is going to catch somebody's eye at some point. That's why it doesn't surprise me at 31, kind of got to reach for a pick there. Maybe you don't necessarily know, and maybe you just push that aside. So that's rough to hear.
I mean, the Canadians just went so far this season completely unexpectedly. Like, I don't understand why they would take that success and then just rubber band themselves backwards in a blatant PR disaster.
Yeah.
Just pick the next guy on your list. It's not the end of the world to not have some 18-year-old kid who doesn't want to play in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe he wants to, but later.
Yeah.
Once he's got some years of maturity under his belt. It just seems so backwards and just.
Well, and I think to myself, if I were to try and go professional when I was 18 years old in professional football, like that's just not a possibility. They understand it, different physical development for sure, especially as an offensive lineman. You gotta let your body mature. But I mean, it's comparable to hockey in that sense, where you're putting a physical wear and tear on your body that's just unreal. So again, if you're not fully developed, if you haven't finished growing, you're just not going to be able to compete at the same level. And it's very unfortunate when things like this happen, but hey, you never know. A couple of years go by, maybe he picks himself up and matures and the right things go. Maybe it works out for him. But yeah, it's unfortunate in pro sports when you hear that, especially guys that have that much talent at a young age. People see it and sometimes don't make the best use of it.
Yeah, and by no means am I saying rule him out, because like I said, he is a phenomenal hockey player. But it's just a terrible set of circumstances that really shouldn't be happening as far as that draft is concerned.
Well,
but
other circumstances around the NHL that shouldn't be happening, because we should be done with COVID by now. It feels like if we took the right efforts that we'd all be done with this, but with variants going around now and different people's opinions on vaccinations, it's been difficult to overcome this. And the NHL and NHL Players Association have finalized a COVID-19 protocol for the 21-22 season because it's still lingering. One thing I wanted to talk about, and it'll be fun here to read after a couple brews, is the biggest news is a mechanism for the teams to suspend unvaccinated players who are unable to compete or participate in club activities. This includes situations where a player cannot travel because of local, provincial, state, or federal regulations upon return. Such individuals would forfeit the equivalent of 1 day's pay for each day they're precluded from participating. And this is quoted from Elliot Friedman, an article that just came out yesterday before this podcast released. And it's a major development. in the US and Canada having to partner to make this league happen. I think the biggest thing here is going to be not only that, I mean, media access is going to even be affected. The biggest thing is they're really trying to encourage that all professional sports leagues get vaccinated so we can avoid less of the hassle of postponing, canceling, or forfeiting games. And I don't know how you feel about that, Jameson, but I think it's important to establish that already is going to, it already has impacted this season, like it or not. And until it's gone, till everyone is able to safely go into these crowd events and know that they are not at risk of catching COVID, that until then it's going to be a risk and something that they absolutely have to manage and take at a priority level on a player level.
Yeah, it will undoubtedly affect the entire league, especially going back to the division system that was restructured last season to avoid all of that. As it specifically applies to the Kraken, not that to my knowledge that any of their players were affected individually by it, but with the big expected rivalry being against Vancouver, Vancouver was one of the teams that really underperformed last year, specifically because so many of their players got COVID and had to sit out for X amount of games over the course of the season. So it's just a good idea as far as not only missing or rescheduling games, as far as keeping the games competitive.
Yeah.
It's not all that fun to see, your AHL team have to play because 10 guys in your show locker room just can't leave their homes or whatever.
Yeah.
That was a big thing in Washington, where at one point between COVID and different penalizations from the team or injuries, they were basically skating with their Hershey lineup against Boston for a couple of games. Granted, they beat them both times because Boston. But if you're from Boston, you're listening to this, I'm sorry.
Hey, don't be talking about my Bruins that way, mate. Hey. That and Fenway Park, you don't talk shit about. You don't talk shit about Fenway Park or my Bruins.
Teddy Williams.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, so here's the thing. There are some exceptions in vaccinated status based upon medical reasons, conflict with sincere held religious beliefs, establishment on the basis of balance of possibilities, and COVID-19 arised out of the course of employment of a hockey player or quarantine because of a high-risk close contact. If a fully vaccinated player is confirmed with a positive test, his condition shall be treated as a hockey-related injury for those purposes. So it's going to literally be entirely different worlds if you're a vaccinated player. So it just makes sense. As a professional athlete, I see a lot of, individuals that are out there that are very vocal about not wanting to get vaccinated. And unfortunately, their reasoning to me is very silly. And as someone that went to college and went and spent somewhat 40 hours a week on football, and then including my studies in journalism, I am not capable of telling you anything beyond a light biomechanics class that I took anything about the human body that is going to even come close to what a doctor can tell you. So go out there, talk to your doctor, understand it, because man, this hockey season, as we talk around the NHL, it's going to be a lot better with all the fans we can get there, and if you are all keeping each other safe.
Yeah, and again, specifically with Seattle, you guys are going to benefit from having as many people in the stands as you can possibly allow.
Yeah, it's a scary idea. I hope with all their water filtration ideas and water stations, they also are filtering the air just as much, if not more.
Right. Yeah, cheers to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something I really thought about, and I was at the Seattle preseason game against the Chargers last Saturday, and I will be going to the Ducks opening game against Fresno State tomorrow. And man, it's something. I'll be masked up. They mandate that you have to come in with a either vaccination proof or that you come in and have a negative test within the last 72 hours. But I know that's not good enough for me. I'll be masked up there. And if I make it to any Kraken games this year, I'll probably be masked up there. Specifically, probably this very effective mask I started our episode with. I think, maybe not.
I don't know if that would be approved on a federal level.
I don't know who's gonna check. I mean, those tentacles, I don't think anybody's gonna look under there to make sure there's a mask. So
I'll see himself.
Oh man. Well, how do you want to close out around the NHL? What else do we have to cover before we get into our third period?
That was pretty much everything that I had for there. Yeah.
Hell, man. Well, unfortunately, it might be a short episode, but we'll find some way to fill it. Cheers, mate. I'm very glad that we got to cover everything really quickly there.
Release the Kraken!
Because we are going to start out right now with our first, I believe, major YouTube comment to respond to in our third period. James J. 2 days ago said, realistically, does this team follow a more similar route to Vegas or to Columbus before they can contend? 1 to 2 years or 20 plus years? And I know you immediately kind of sighed and were like, pre-episode as we discussed this tweet, or sorry, not a tweet. I hope you will tweet at us. If you do tweet at us, we will get you on the show. We do not have enough to work with for just straight Twitter, but YouTube comments work great. So YouTube is a great place to go ahead and get your comments in and ask us questions like this. And even if Jameson groans over it, we're gonna ask him. I know my opinion really doesn't matter. I'm going to just, of course, answer as I always have. I think it's going to be unlikely you can just replicate what Vegas did, but who knows? And I have no basis to know what the hell he's talking about with Columbus. So for the people out there, Jameson, go ahead and explain.
All right. Well, firstly, I'd like a minor correction. I didn't sigh out of it not being a good question. I sighed because I didn't want to give the cheap answer of it being, it has to realistically be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Also, I know Jim, he may or may not be the guitarist in this band.
Oh, so, James J. That James J.
Yes, sir. So,
shout out. Thanks for listening.
Shout out to Mr. Jimbles out there. Appreciate the question, mate. But yeah, I think based on how strange the California teams are this year, being in that division is going to be really, really beneficial for them. Again, it is going to depend a lot on this COVID stuff, how much Vancouver bounces back after a very lackluster showing last year based on all the stuff I already mentioned. It is going to be interesting to see what Edmonton does, because they have some of the best tools, but also the worst tools in the league, where you have guys like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and it just, there's so much talent there, but somehow they just can't put it together. So I think being in a relatively weak division is going to kind of err towards the number line of Vegas versus Columbus. I don't think in a million years that they're going to make the Cup Finals this year. Hell, it would be a pleasant surprise.
And you'll be drinking for it if they do. I'll remember episode 7 where Jameson said they won't be making the Cup this year.
I said it's unlikely, but it would be realistic.
I'm going to
assume that. I mean, hey, if they make the Cup Finals this year, I'll be drinking anyway. So you won't have to remind me.
Let's just make it a bet, my friend. I'll say they're making it. They're making it. The Seattle Kraken are making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. You heard it here first, and you know, if you've been listening to this episode, how much I know about hockey, how likely that is.
I mean, just to kind of bounce towards the other part of the question, just to be thorough.
Yeah.
I think Columbus had a lot of trouble in like roster changes. I mean, yeah, they had Rick Nash and guys like that, but they also had to play against some of the best teams in hockey at the time. I mean, you had the Hawks, you had Detroit, you had a re-emerging St. Louis that was just randomly not terrible out of nowhere. So it was not the greatest time for a team to be just slapped into that division, let alone a relatively small hockey market in Columbus. We've kind of touched on that in the past, where with saying with Arizona potentially moving somewhere, what kind of market would be best catered to having a team. I think Columbus was kind of a strange decision at the time. Granted, they've gotten much better and obviously lived through 20 some odd years, or 20 years, whatever. And so, yeah, just to sort of come to a conclusive point, I would say probably closer to the Vegas turnout. I can definitely see them making the playoffs. I'm going to go so far as to say second in the Pacific.
Nice.
I mean, I don't think that's even too much of a stretch. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Inaugural year playoff berth is nothing to balk at, and I mean, depending what their first round matchup would be, I could see them conference semis. That's not crazy either.
You keep moving the needle. I'm saying Stanley Cup Finals, and I'll even add to that. I bet you they finish second in the regular season in the conference, and let's just say Colorado's ahead of them.
You think they're going to be ahead of Las Vegas?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put that chi on Las Vegas for getting rid of Fleury. Screw him.
Oh yeah.
Screw 'em.
Oh yeah. If there's any semblance of karma in the world, that should absolutely just dismantle that organization.
That's
from the ground up on the pillars of salt upon they were built. Those absolute slags, I fucking hate them. So
Jameson's getting riled up. I love it. Episode 7, only here. Lucky episode 7, we get Jameson's finest. I love it, man. Wow. I think we answered that question pretty thoroughly. I made a couple long-term bets that we will have to go and revisit episode 7 many times as this first season goes. But
and if it counts for anything, that little tirade right there was specifically because Jim's a Vegas fan. So he and I were actually at a Billy Goat Tavern in Chicago after band rehearsal, watching the cup be lifted by Ovechkin, and he was just pissed. And I'm sitting there with tears running down my face, and I'm like, oh my God. First year ever. But
we're gonna have to get him on the episodes, like one of these episodes, having to come on, do an interview, talk about that moment, because I'm trying to compare it to something that would be for me if I was there watching, a game against, if I played in the national championship with the Ducks against Auburn. If I was watching that game over again with an Auburn fan, oh man, I might choke them out. It would be the tap out, baby, because they would be done. But hey, alas, good thing is that we can always crack one open with our friends and laugh about it. And hey, it's a great story, man. That's fantastic.
And just got to go a little overboard because it's Jim.
Yeah, always, man. Well, I'm glad. Speaking of going overboard, last week we went a little bit overboard on the really poor design choice of our great friend at Kraken Up North. You'll see right here. We talked about this can a little bit last week, and we didn't really know exactly what kind of beer this was. We were really, really curious about it. But please go back and watch that episode if you haven't already. But Kraken Up North said, found a dead soldier, Bomber Brewing from Vancouver. Never had it before. It was average, just a one-off. Gave us a little better picture of the cans there. Excuse me. Again, it is no Rainier Brewing, made right here in Seattle. If you're driving up I-5 North, you'll see it in the Seattle region, I guarantee you. But it's no Rainier, pretty average one-off, but we do appreciate it. We hope you're watching this episode, Kraken One. Kraken up north. We hope you're watching with your hors d'oeuvres, as we talked about last episode, and we know you're always preparing tasty treats when you're watching this podcast, and we appreciate you for it. I love our reoccurring fans, man, and we'll always give them shout outs as long as they continue to tweet at us every week. So if you want to be a part of that group, tweet at us right now. Go ahead.
And I mean, there is a certain level of irony that the big rivalry is supposed to be versus Vancouver, and he's cracking up north and drinking a beer from Vancouver.
That's probably why it's average.
Beautiful point. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. If you were going to get a true, authentic Seattle beer, which again, cracking up north, let me know. I can get you some. We can get you some Space Dust right away, or some fantastic Rainier. That's just some of those things we could think about. But again, this is one of our reoccurring guests, and someone we've talked about before that is on our Twitter follows, is unfortunately might be leaving the Kraken community. We'll end our third period on this. At C, the Kraken is moving away from the Seattle area. Unfortunately, it sounds like, don't want to get too much into it, but it sounds like job, roommate issues, not being able to pay crazy amounts of rent around here. I wish you would have reached out to me, because I could give him a little space to transition, but man, it just sucks. I hope he's talked about leaving the handle at See the Kraken and of deleting his account, but man, why do that? You can still be a Seattle Kraken fan for wherever you are, and we'd still love you to participate in the show. Jameson, make your plea to See the Kraken. Tell him why he should stay and continue to participate and watch the show.
All right, mate. There it is. I do this from Chicago, brother. You don't have to be in Seattle to be a Kraken fan at heart.
Beautiful. Really true. And yeah, I think regardless, we all have to do things for our best interests. If you do got to leave, and you do got to, abandon that Kraken fandom, we hope whatever new account you take on, you still follow us, you still engage with us, let us know what you like, what you don't like, because it'll help us make a better show for you and all the other Kraken fans out there. So, hey, I'm going to, before we get to our wrap up, this last one is for you.
Release the Kraken!
Get yourself a Rainier. Wherever you're at, get yourself a Rainier, because, again, the Bud Light of Seattle beers. So,
I don't know if that's the greatest testimony, but
hey, I have friends that would say otherwise. But
okay, fair.
But that's not what we're here to discuss. We are in our sudden death wrap up, and that's where, while we're a little bit inebriated, we try to wrap this up as best as possible with just factoids, things we liked about this episode, and keep it quick and concise. But Jameson, what'd you like? Or what some of the fans out there need to be engaged in?
I mean, to me, start keeping an eye on those dates too. As it'll be here before you know it, with the first game being on the 26th out in Spokane. I know it's kind of crept up on me with doing the show every week. It just naturally feels so far away, especially with trying to come up with topics every week when there are no games going on, just trying to dive into, oh my gosh, what can I possibly say about this signing, which most of them aren't blockbusters. We aren't going to see probably another one for a while. Keep in mind, the Kraken do still have over $9 million, so we could be seeing a trade for a top six center. That's a possibility. But yeah, just again, it'll be here before you know it, and it's just something to, I don't know, maybe you have a little calendar, you start crossing out the days,
I know I am already crossing off the days for when we go to Miami, which I believe is, when this episode releases, 50 days away, something like that. But we'll check it after the show and fact check for our penalty box and after the next episode. But I know that at least the season's 40 something days away from getting started. So again, messed this up last episode. Doesn't need to be specific, but we get to the end, and that's just how the wrap up tends to go. And I know that I'm really excited. We have had a lot of topics that just come up randomly that we just, we still sit here even weeks that we don't have much to talk about. Still fill about an hour time. So when we get to the season, it's going to be really hard to just cut this down, keep it to the nitty gritty. But in the meantime, we've got plenty of random things to keep you entertained, keep you guessing, because it's just what we do here.
That hat is just something else. I love it, but good Lord.
My real eyes are down here, buddy. Okay.
For anybody listening, that was the joke before, because he had the goggles on, and I just kept looking at the googly eyes on the hat, just thinking, holy crap, your head is really tall.
It's fantastic. I was actually considering wearing this to the Oregon game this weekend just to separate myself and catch any Duck Kraken fans that happen to be out there that listen to this and wants a duck. But you know what? I think with the 80 plus degree sunshine out there, it's just not going to be good for my tan, which I clearly need to get work on before we go to Miami, October 24th. Hope you guys tune in. The Facebook group already has the invite for you ready. So let us know. Go and RSVP, because we're going to be holding a live show. We still haven't decided if it's going to be on YouTube or Facebook Live. Hopefully both, but we'll make it available to you either way. But we're going to be recapping that first home ice game. We're going to need you guys there to help, because obviously neither of one of us is getting into the game. So biggest thing is we're going to rely on our fans that are there to tell us what it was like, and we're going to review what it was like watching it on film. So, hey, can't wait, and it's been so much fun cracking one open. What do you got to finish for us, Jameson?
Yeah, just to elaborate on that last point, just it is live, so we'd love for you guys to jump in, be part of the experience, because it is a first time for us as well. So having live interaction, maybe you call us out on something that we screwed up and we'll have to drink for it, and it'll be a really silly episode.
Yes, absolutely, because it could get much more silly than it is currently right now. So,
especially with us both in the same room. Oh Lord.
Oh man. Well, I might have to bring this down to Miami with me, because it covers the headphones so well. It feels natural at this point. But that's how we've been getting way too far in this episode, and probably should wrap it up. But we hope you are subscribed on YouTube. If you aren't, get at it. Give us a like, give us the thumbs up, and any other podcasting platform you hear us. We hope you're enjoying, and drink along responsibly. And again, keep cracking one open, baby. We can't wait for the season to start off. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, everybody.